So now I'm logged in, but all of these pages need to know that I'm logged in. And if I'm not logged in, they need to take me back to the login. So if I try to load any of these pages and I'm not logged in, it should always redirect me to the login page. Okay. So there's two parts of this. The first part is remembering that I'm logged in after I've logged in. And we're going to use a session object to take care of that. And then the second part is always checking to see whether I'm logged in before displaying any of these pages. And we're going to use a before method to check that so that we don't have to add it to every single page. So let's start with the session. And sessions in Python and Flask are really easy. I can't actually show you in the console right here because I don't have a web context. But you want to start by importing, pip install flask-session. And then once you've done that, you can just include session here. And actually, I don't think I'm using URL4 anymore. So yeah, I'm not using URL4 anymore. So let me get rid of that. Let me show you the page where all this stuff is documented. So basically, Flask session. This is all OpenSSL. That's password hashing. We're on the last thing. Flask session package. And to include the session, you import session from Flask session. And then, so we need to configure where and how session information is stored. So basically, when you have session working properly, every time you get a request, your web server has access to the variable session, which is basically a wrapper for dictionary. And so anything you store, for example, if you create a key named key in the session dictionary and you set it to a value, then on subsequent requests to the web server from the same user's browser, you're going to have the same value in the dictionary that you stored on the previous page access. And the way it knows which user is accessing is associated with the session is it basically stores a cookie on the user's browser. So the first time when you try to load a page with a session associated with it, it says, okay, well, I'm trying to get a session, but there is no session object for this user because I didn't see a cookie. So I'm going to generate a random number, and that's going to be the session ID. And I'm going to send that back to the user's browser in cookie form so that on all subsequent page requests, the user is going to send back this cookie, and I know which session file is associated with the cookie that they sent me. And then, so you have this dictionary of values, and you can pretty much put whatever you want in there. And then it's got to get stored somewhere. And there are a bunch of different mechanisms that Flask session knows about in storing cookies, in storing session objects. But basically, the one that works is this session type file system. Unfortunately, since we're using MongoDB, I thought it would be cool if we could use MongoDB collection to hold our Flask sessions as well. And that's supposed to work, but it doesn't actually work in the current version of Flask, which is Flask session is not completely compatible with the current version of the MongoDB drivers or with Python. So try tried this, doesn't work. This one does. It actually stores the session information in a separate file that's keyed to the cookie ID and puts it in a temp directory and works fine. So anyways, so we're going to do that. So the way you do that is you declare a global variable called session type, and then you set the value of session type to file system. And then the next part, so there's a couple of ways of actually associating session with your app. And you can call app.config.from object name, but there's another method that's a little bit more appropriate, which is this right here. So you make a session and you call session.init app and you pass in the name of your Flask app or your Flask app here. So this requires this session thing, which is in Flask X session. So we're going to import that. I think this is still right, but I seem to recall there was something screwy about that, but we'll find out. And then in the run method down here, we're going to say this thing, session.init app, except this is cls.app now. And I also need this thing here that makes the session. Okay. And then before I execute that, I need to set session type. Whoops, crap. Yeah. All right, this time I got it. All right. Session type is going to be file system. So this is going to be a global variable. And so I can either do it here as a global variable, or I can do it as a class property. But this is fine, so I'll do that. And I think that's everything. So if I do that, that gives me access to a session variable wherever I want to have access to it. And so in particular, what I'm going to do is in the success here, I'm going to go ahead and say session sub user is, let me try storing the whole object here. Well, I don't have an object right now. So I'm just going to store username is username. Okay. And then I'm going to change my header in my default template. I'm going to have, I'm going to put it in the footer, I think. Yeah. Let's put it in the footer. So I'm going to say user colon session username, comma. Okay, so I'm going to show the logged in user right in the footer. And this will be probably not right if nobody's logged in. So let me start by setting the logged in user to an empty string here. Yeah, okay, let me see if this works. Not sure. Just double check one thing before I run it again. Yeah. Okay. Let's give it a shot. See what it does. So so it isn't flask.ext. Let's just try flask.session. No, hang on. Um, I would look this up normally and show you where it is on the web, but I'm going to cheat in the interest of time because I solved this problem already. And so that's going to be in Mark PC, users, Mark, PyCharm projects, schedule, web UI, which I'm going to open in Notepad++. And yeah, Flask under session, import session. So I don't know exactly when that changed, but this seems to work. Okay. And then I think I need to set a seed here too. Working outside the request context. Yeah, so it didn't like the fact that I put that in the run method. I think I need to do it here. What I'm going to do is in my login, before I render that template, I'm going to say if username not in session, session username is empty string. Okay, let's reload. Internal session is unavailable because, oh, I need to set the secret key. So you basically need to pick a random string, which is used to hash values in your session or encrypt them. And you can either generate a new one each time you run the server, in which case everything that was stored in sessions from the previous run will basically go away. Or you can reuse the same key, but then you have to keep the key secret. So I'm going to use GenSalt, I think, for it. So import bcrypt, and then we'll say CLS dot. Actually, I think probably I want to do that. Where do I want to do that? Yeah. I can do it anywhere here. So we're going to do cls dot app dot secret key is equal to bcrypt dot GenSalt. And no, it didn't like that. Where was I when it hit that error? Okay, once again, I could look this up and try to figure out why I have an issue, but I am going to cheat and look at where I already did it. Oh, yeah, okay. I just did that over there. But that's in webui.app in the init method. So I think I just need to move this up here. No, hang on. Secret key on the application to something unique and secret. Did not like that. Yeah, I'm probably doing something stupid here. I'm definitely missing something here. Okay, let me see what I got here. Okay, so I'm importing session. I'm importing, yeah. And then I'm making my app. Request is secure. I haven't gotten to that yet. That's the last thing. So let me do. Why did I have to use session so much? WebUI.app.secret key. That's what I'm doing here. And then web UI app config from object name. So that was the other way. I thought what I was doing would work, but I'm pretty sure that's the problem. Oh, and then session web UI.app. So I guess you need to do both of those things. Let me see what I was doing here. I think I missed a step. Yeah. So yeah. So init app that, and then you also have to do this other thing here. So I called init app, but I really want to do config from object and then make session webui.app. Config from object. And not init app, I guess. All right. Yeah, so let's do that. Yeah. All right. So CLS dot app dot config from object name, and then session CLS dot app. And let's try that. Okay, so user's empty. And I'm going to make that look prettier, I think, but we'll go ahead and mark test me 1, 2 exclamation point, log in, users mark, display users mark, and so on. So it's remembering that I'm logged in on all the other pages. And then for logout, basically you just want to clear the session object. So we're going to go ahead and at the very bottom, we'll add a route for login, logout rather, app.route slash logout. And we're going to session.clear. That clears out a dictionary. And actually we need, yeah, static method. Def logout. So we'll session clear, and then we're gonna return redirect to login. So reload, I log in, I log out, takes me back to the login page. And then login. If I log in with garbage, login failed. All right.